Hi friends, this is your pal Scott Garibay, and today we are going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're specifically going to talk about the excellent new Heroes of the Borderland starter set that's coming out. And we're going to talk about Heroes of the Borderland establishing a new edition of Dungeons and Dragons. So it is my opinion that Heroes of the Borderland changes so much of Dungeons and Dragons that it establishes a new edition. So, and you know what? Let me get right to what we're going to cover today. We're going to cover the excursion path of boards and what can be done after 3rd edition. But the reason why I believe that that Heroes of the Borderlands establishes a new D&D edition, and I believe that the correct name for that edition is the Heroes Board D&D edition. And the reason why is it's taken Dungeons and Dragons to scribeless. It's taken Dungeons and Dragons to 3x5 monsters, multiple DM stamps, and power tokens, brand new, no analog for that anywhere in Dungeons and Dragons, and there's enough here to establish a new edition. And that's a big deal. So, okay, so you gather together, so you and 4 people, right? And even that is different. It's not just one person who's excited enough to be a DM. It's the idea that everyone is excited and we're all coming to Dungeons and Dragons together, and no one person is above the rest, right? There's no master, right? Which is, I love the concept of Dungeon Master, but I have to admit, I really like the idea that they're saying, hey, when we tell people about Dungeons and Dragons and we explain what a Dungeon Master is, and that all this weight is going to go on you, and you need to be able to act as 1,000 people. It scares people, and I get that. I really get that, and I love how driven this edition is to get rid of every single problem that keeps people from playing Dungeons and Dragons, which is a lot of problems. It is very hard to bring people to D&D, and harder every day, because the world is filled with great books and great video games and great activities, and it's hard, right? So today I want to talk about the excursion path, okay? So I already talked about the conversion path, but the excursion path is, okay, we have 5 people together. We get Heroes of the Borderland. We've dropped $50 and we play for 6 months, and we are hooked. We're all in, and we now know what Dungeons and Dragons is. We've told this exciting story that spanned from wilderness to the keep to the caves of chaos. We're there. We're sold, right? But now we hit 3rd edition, and what do, right? So there's actually 3 paths, okay? The one path is you just shift over to old D&D. I don't think that's a great idea. I think the fact that this is a new edition is really exciting, and it means people don't need to cleave to that old edition of Dungeons and Dragons. They can take a really exciting new path and do something completely different, right? That they could do something that we've never seen before, right? And so they could go back to the DMG, the PHB, and the MM, but that's going to be tough, right? They've been brought up on these boards, on these tokens, on this scribeless D&D, right? And it's like they've been playing Dungeons and Dragons with these power consoles, right, where they're just kind of shifting cards around. It does different things, and now they have to go, oh wait, what is this tax form? I don't like this, right? So they can do that, right? That is one path, but that's not the best path. And then there's conversion, right? Now, I already talked about what conversion is, and that is converting everything that's in the DMG, the PHB, and the MM to into cards, right? And into these 3x5 monsters, and going down that road. But there's another path, this excursion path, and that is, okay, we're going to build new boards, right? But we don't need to build a 4th level board. We can build 3 boards, and those boards can span We could build 3 different boards: an exploration board, a combat board, and an interaction board, right? Or we could build boards based on oaths our characters have taken. We could build boards based on patrons who come in and equip us. We could build boards based on training that we just received, right? These boards don't have to link only to only to level. We can go in 100 different directions. And the other thing is, at this point, we can build, when we, are we going to build all the weapons that are in the DMG, the PHP, and the MM, or that are in the PHP? And get this, we might not. Can you imagine if a crew comes in and they're like, we're never going to look at the DMG, the PHP, or the MM. We're not going to convert anything out of them. Our entire Dungeons and Dragons experience is going to be from Heroes on the Borderland. And everything after 4th level is going to be new, right? And we're going to take the game in completely new ways, completely new weapons, completely new feats, completely new spells, completely new monsters that aren't in the monster manual, right? And they may, and we're like, well, how are you going to handle leveling? They may completely change how leveling works, right? And they can map all of that into the boards, into the cards, into the 3x5s, into the tokens. And it can take Dungeons and Dragons in massively new directions, just dramatically new directions. And then they can share. They can say, hey, let us show you what we did, right? And others can be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go down that direction, or I'm going to do something completely new and fresh. And so what is unlocked from Heroes of the Borderland is extremely exciting. Every single word you just heard in this video is my humble opinion. Nothing more, nothing less. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion, when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.